outside. Okay, and the motion was quite hard to do because of the pole. So really, you have to do it at the beginning, at the end. So the synchronization window is just like in the older version. So here I'm moving in all the videos at the same time. And I have to be somewhere near to my synchronization signal, okay? Around 23 seconds, okay? See the time there? And I'm looking for 10 seconds before and 10 seconds after this time, and using the motion for synchronization. There are going to be a lot of computation during the presentation. So if you have questions, feel free to ask them during the computation. Okay?
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
And what's the best setup on a Mac? What would you suggest, the hardware side?
On the Mac?
Yeah.
We had the best result with the late Mac Pro, okay, the cylinder, with the highest configuration, like the Fire Pro D800.
And 12 cores.
Yeah, something like that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so we have an accurate synchronization, okay. Sometimes this is not reliable, so when you have your first teaching, just make sure your synchronization is okay. And I'm going to apply it, and then I can close the window. Just to show you, you can detach the window, okay? You can have two windows at the same time. For example, you can attach it and close it. Okay. So now we need to stitch our video, okay? There are a few options for the stitching. First of all, we have introduced the notion of preset, okay? The preset, it contains the distortion of the lenses, the focal length, an approximate focal length, and it also tells the optimizer, do you need to optimize the distortion, do you need to optimize the viewpoint. I'm going to show you after the description of this side. So here I'm using the Stitch as GoPro, using the current selection. And my selection is that blue bar, okay? So at the beginning I had a lot of setup. So I'm going to take, actually that's part of the project. Okay, so the Stitch on selection is going to take several instants in this time. You can edit how many of them you want. So I'm going to take 4 positions in this interval, and it's going to make 4 panorama and merge them together, okay? To give you the best panorama. So at the same time, you are going to see that we are extracting JPEG frames at different timing on each video. A lot of people ask me about templates. Templates, it's really when you can't stitch your video by control point detection. Well, it's really better to have a new stitching, because the stitching is always different. Really, it depends on your scene, on the distance to the object. You really have, if you can, to do a new stitching, okay? I'm going to show you after, if you are using a template, you also need to re-optimize the stitching, okay? yeah, I have my first teaching. I don't need the input videos anymore. Okay, so I can close the window. Here we are. I'm only going to work on 30 seconds or 1 minute of this project, okay? Because it's quite long, it lasts for 8 minutes. So this is what you can do with the new version. You can have the grid. You can choose the size of the preview, okay? I'm going to take the lower one for better performances. The first thing we need to do is to check the synchronization and the stitching too, okay? So just let me level 0 item, make it straight. And play back the video. So as you can see, my synchronization isn't good, okay? So what do I need to do is go back to the synchronization window, okay, and make another computation. As this project is quite complicated to synchronize, I've took the whole project with me. So if you open a video file in a text editor, you can see that the first fields are related to the input and the synchronization settings. Yeah.
I saw you were trying to do a motion to synchronize.
Yeah.
Would you only do that if you were getting like the cameras spinning 360?
Yeah.
So it seems like when you shoot 360 video, you should always synchronize either the motion at the beginning, audio, or a flash thing.
Yeah.
And then once you found that synchronization, you kind of you have to like rely heavily on that because it seems like later on the timeline you don't have that opportunity anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like because I saw how you selected the later portion to
With the blue bar interval?
yeah, like how you selected a later part of the timeline to
You mean that?
yeah, blue bar.
Okay. Now the synchronization is only around the current time. Okay. With the GoPro, it's constant all over the video. Okay. Even if you have split file. So the synchronization is the same from the beginning to the end of the sequence. Was that your question?
Yeah, I guess the question would be when you started it, did it say accurate? When you started it, it said that you had accurate synchronization.
Yeah.
And then later on, it looked like there was.
Wasn't accurate?
Yeah. So does that mean the information it's getting at the beginning is not like it's drifting later in the timeline, or?
The indication you have there is really hardware computed, so it's reliable, but on a certain way. Okay, it's better for the audio, but it wasn't possible there. The idea of the motion synchronization is that we are going to look for the rotation speed of each input camera. We are going to compute each one of them, and we are going to synchronize them using the highest peak of rotation. And like you said, if there are a few turnaround and at a very constant speed, it happens sometimes that you can match the first turnaround with the other, okay? You see what I mean?
Yeah. So, what frame rate was this video shot at?
Excuse me?
What frames per second was the video shot at?
It was 60.
Okay, so because we've noticed that too, where if we shot at like 30 frames per second and there's a drift, but if you have the 120 frames a second, you can kind of micro synchronize.
Yeah. This is what we call intra-frame desynchronization. We are working also on that part to see if it's possible to have a sub-frame synchronization. But it's really long because we have to interpolate the frame in between. Okay. Yeah.
Another question, is it, do you always have like a start time of 0 milliseconds and 0 nearest frame? Is it like you always have one camera that has?
Yeah, it's your reference. But
Okay.
you can have a camera starting. You can have no reference at all. It just means that you are going to crop your video. Okay, but it's possible.
Okay, thanks.
So I need to do the stitching again.
How did you find out the numbers that match now?
Excuse me?
How did you find out the numbers that match now? What strategy did you use to kind of make a good result, since it didn't work out in the first place?
I've done it yesterday. I need to take a larger interval for the motion synchronization around, I think it was 30 seconds, around 40, because I really have to look to a larger interval, because I wasn't really doing the right move for synchronization. I can do it here, but it's quite long on the laptop. So I just took the project from yesterday. Okay, it seems to be okay.
But the best way to get a perfect synchronization is a clap.
Yeah, really. But with the ski gloves, it's really hard to have a loud clap. And there was a lot of wind outside. But yes, this is really the best way to do it, and the fastest in the post-processing. It's really faster to compute the audio synchronization than motion.
Just use the ski poles.
Yeah, not sure about that. Yeah, but next time I will skiing, I will do that. You also have the red bar. This is the output segment. I like to set it at the beginning of the project, just to work only on the interesting parts. Okay, so I'm going to take 30 seconds at this time, from 5:30 to 6. Okay. You have the snap tool here, which just snaps to other elements on the timeline. Okay, you can enable it or disable it. If you want to be more precise on your output segment, you can just set the timer, and this is my input. And my output. Okay, you can zoom in into the timeline using the wheel and Alt. Okay, just let me save the project. Okay, here we are. So in this project, I don't need change in my stitching. Sometimes you go from the inside to the outside of a building, and the stitching is different. Okay, you need to adapt the stitching to the environment. Here, it's the same all along my segment, so I don't need to do that. But that will be the first step. Okay. So here you have the stitch timeline. It allows you to compute the RMS curve, okay? And then you will see where you need to adjust the stitching, okay? I will show you that at the end if I have the time, okay? It's not the most important part, so I'm going to focus on the horizon and the colors for the beginning. So for the horizon correction, the first thing, when you have a constant moving shot, you need to do a transition that lasts from the beginning to the end of your segment. So you take the cursor here and just adjust the transition. So the transition is the interpolation state between one state to another. One state is one horizon, another state is another horizon, and between them you don't know what's happening, but the computer is going from the beginning to the end, okay? So the idea is to have a straight horizon at the beginning.
What key command are you pressing when you adjust the horizon?
Excuse me?
Are you pressing another key when you adjust the horizon?
No, just moving in the prep.
Does it want this, because I can kind of the map and it doesn't adjust the horizon. You know, like just clicking and dragging doesn't seem to work on the map.
Oh, really? On the last version?
The latest version, yeah.
Okay. We have to try that. Okay. And when you are leveling the horizon, you also have to remember that depending on where you want to show your video, you have to keep the same direction in the front of the view, in the middle of the view. Because if you are looking at it in the Oculus, you really want your viewer to have the action in front of on his eyes, okay? And just apply. Then you go to the end, level again, and apply. I'm almost forgetting the first step is that you need to also compute the motion to have a first stabilization, okay? It's not always required. For 30 seconds, it should be okay, but I'm going to show you how to use automatic stabilization, okay? So you have a small tool here, which is opening the stabilization window, and it's computing the stabilization on the blue interval, okay? It's a long step again. This is a 360 video workflow for now, but it's really fast on a workstation. While it's computing the stabilization, just let me show you one of the new things of AutoPano Video 2 is the input sequence, okay? So a lot of people wanted to get an image sequence as an input for larger resolution. So we introduce a new file, which is the KVI file. This is how it works. So instead of having my input video, I just have folders with image sequences, okay? The specification is just a classic XML file. The important part is that you have a relative path from your folder. So here, if my working folder is this level, I need to have the cam1 folder here, okay? This is what it says. And then inside, I have first cam and 5 digits, okay? Then you set the first frame, okay? You can start at another timing if you want, and the last one. And you also have to indicate the frame weight. The frame weight is also useful if you are doing time-lapse sequences, okay? This is kind of your speed-up factor for the time-lapse. So this is the new specification for the input file, segment input files. That will allow you to go to like, remember, but 12K for the resolution of the rectangular file. You have to know that the render is done on the graphic card up to 8,000 pixels, 8K, okay, depending on the card. But after that limit, the processor, the CPU, is taking the render, okay? So it's going to be much longer. This is just the hardware limitation.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What did you do just now to
Excuse me, I want to ask a question about the timeline control. What is the hotkey you just used to zoom in, zoom out the timeline?
It's like in Photoshop, for example, to zoom in you have the Alt key, and the wheel of the mouse, okay? You can also use the slider, you can resize the slider. If you are not pressing any key, you can just move in the timeline using the mouse wheel too, okay?
Yeah, and for the input sequence, what is the requirement for the file name? Does Kolor auto panel support different file names, such as a Unicode file name, not in UTF-8? Do you support, such as I have some Chinese characters in the file name? Do you support it?
Sometimes it's quite buggy on that part. Really, it's better to have really like UTF-8 encoding for the character. I don't know the exact specification, but I'm not sure that you can use Japanese or Chinese characters inside.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so when you compute the stabilization, you have a slider here. This is what you want to get rid of. So most of the time we are going to use at the maximum level, 100%. Sometimes if you just want to clean the vibration, you can use it at 50%, okay? Between them, you can have, there is not much case that's required to use it under 100, but sometimes it's useful. And you have a visual feedback on the slider. You have the motion here. And when I decrease the compensation value, you can see what I'm correcting and not. Okay? So just if you really want a smooth video, just let the default value. What you have to know about the automatic stabilization is that it's just the first pass for the stabilization. You will always need to have a manual adjustment for that part, okay? So I set the horizon at the beginning, at the end too. And then you need to go into the interval and see if the horizon is okay all along your video, okay? So I take the habit to go to the middle and just level again the horizon. As you can see, when I click on apply here, I'm cutting my transition. Here I have a state, okay? It only lasts for 1 frame, so you don't have a constant state. You still are in interpolation, okay? But you just have to know this is like a keyframe, but you have a state in between. In the settings, you can set auto-cut for the transition. What auto-cut means is when I'm here in the timeline and if I click on apply, I'm going to cut the transition. But the default value is do not cut. So you will have to make manual transition. You just have to see if you want the auto-cut mode or not. So you also need to check the horizon at the timing. Here it's okay because it only lasts for 30 seconds. Okay, so this is it for the horizon leveling. The next step is about the color correction. Just going to take back my working interval. So we introduce an automatic correction for the color. The first thing you need to do is just applying a first correction to your video just to see the result. So you have the settings like in the previous version, okay? And you also have the new exposure compensation slider. So I'm just going to apply a color correction. Okay. I find it a bit too dark, okay? So I can go to 0.5 early. It's better. Okay. Then what you can do is to use the color correction you just set, but apply it on each frame or each 2 frames or on 1 second, 2 seconds. So this is in your automatic mode. The default value is 5 seconds. Here I know that I need to do it 2 seconds, each 2 seconds, because I'm moving quite fast in the video. So it's going to make a lot of computation, but the result is really better. And then compute the automatic color correction. just remember that you have to save your project quite often, okay? This is still a beta version, so you can have some bugs, okay? But it seems to be pretty stable for me. And I like to keep different versions of my project, okay? And this is the result of the automatic color correction mode. So you have a transition, but as you can see, you cannot move the transition. Here in the horizon, I can move the transition, but here you cannot move it because it's automatic. So if you want to go to have a longer transition, you can just play with current selection, okay? And you can also cut the color transition and make your own color correction, okay? Okay, color seems to be nice. The next step, which is quite related to color, is the blending also. So this is our new icon for the blending presets. You have two presets, which are smooth and sharp. Smooth is the diamond mode. It means that you don't have any cutting. You just have a ghost between the pictures, okay? I found it way more acceptable than the ISO cutting in sport shots, in iMove shots, like a race car, or it's really better. You won't see the desynchronization problem with the diamond mode, okay? The ISO cutting is really a straight line, so if you have a lot of motion, you will see the border of the camera moving, okay, because of the rolling shutter, the desynchronization, the parallax. So for me, the diamond, it's way better in that kind of shot. But for example, if I was doing a time lapse in this room, I would use the ISO cutting mode, okay? You also have the blending. We have this slider. This is setting the level of blending, which is the color diffusion of each picture to another, okay? The default value is -2, and the maximum value is 0. I always play between -3 and 0. As the color correction is quite good, I'm going to take the -2 value. I don't want too much diffusion, okay? Because if you have like darkest parts and lighter one, you don't want to diffuse too much the color from the darkest to the brightest. And apply it. And you are done with the basic part of the edition for the 360 video, okay? This is as simple. And then, if you want to export a 360 video, you just have to go to the render tab. In the render window, you have the maximum size allowed by your setup, okay? This is more like an information. You don't want to change this value, okay? This is the potential of your video, but in most cases, you won't be able to play a 5K video in an iPad or on the Gear, okay? So we need to compress the video, unless you have a specific workflow and you want to go to post-processing, you can choose the uncompressed export, which is going to be the maximum size. And there, you can change the size, okay? And this is the same for the frame sequence. You can choose what kind of format, the compression, and the size too, okay? And the most common export is MP4. As soon as possible, we will add other export formats, okay? Like the cineform, like Alexander says yesterday. For the MP4 export, the most common is the UHD format, okay? This is that size, and depending on where you want to play the video, you can choose to keep the input frame rate, which is 60, but that's not going to play on my laptop or on my iPhone, so the preset value is much better. We have so many clients asking why my video is not playing back, why it's freezing while it's playing. So it's quite often because of the frame rate, okay? The standard is just PAL or NTSC. You just want to keep as preset. The aspect ratio is also important because depending on the player, you can choose to embed your 2:1 ratio into a 16:9 ratio, okay? This is clever because you are using a standard format and you are just using all the pixels you can, okay? If I'm keep the 2:1 ratio, I'm losing like 200 pixels. But depending on the player, it won't be able to remap that. On all the color-wise player, you can use the 16:9 ratio, okay? But I know that Cayapano sometimes don't like this kind of ratio, okay? You will see like a black hole at the zenith and the nadir. So this is the safe way, this is the clever way, okay? And then you just have to set the output path. I'm going to do the HD file just for a faster render. The idea for me is always to export the larger video you can, because if you are going to upload your video on some kind of hosting like YouTube, like Colorwise, the video is going to be transcoded into like 4, 6, or 7 formats, okay? So keep as much quality as you can before the upload, okay? You don't want to compress and recompress again. You can customize the MP4 presets in the settings. So for example, if I'm taking the UHD version, the default bitrate is 24 megabytes per second. So you can go to 100 if you want. You can also choose the frame rate of the preset, okay? And the audio bitrate. You can make different presets. For example, you can copy a preset, and this is my preset. I want it to be NTSC. I want 30 frames per second and a very large bitrate, okay? And then in the render window, I will be able to use that preset. Yep.
Is there an option to set 60 frames per second in those presets?
Depends on the size. No, in AVP, for now, we are limited to the 5.1 level of H.264, which is UHD but 30 FPS, okay? But what you can do is keep the input frame rate on the UHD resolution. like I've shown you in the render window, okay? You will be able to do it like this, okay? For now, we are not allowing that because the hardware decoding on Windows, depending on the Mac OS you have, is limited to 30 FPS in UHD resolution, okay?
And are you planning to add H.265 for the Samsung Gear and other HMDs?
Yeah, as soon as the codec is ready, we'll add it for sure. We have to see if it's the next codec, because it's not done yet, okay? But as Alex told you yesterday, we already are using the H.265 on the hosting. We are transcoding your video in H.265, so we are ready for that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, my render is done. So you can notice that we still have desynchronization, but this is subframe desynchronization, and also due to the rolling shutter. So as soon as we have something for you, we'll tell you, okay? But it's coming, really.
And if you export the input as a sequence and use the sequence and the higher frame rate, will it stitch better? For example, if you stitch like a time lapse or something like that.
Yeah.
And the stitching will be better, or if you, I don't know how to say, but make a higher frame rate. It's not a real higher frame rate, but synthetic.
The stitching will remain the same.
So there still will be ghosting.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. So this is it for the basic 360 video edition. What I can show you next is the authoring, which is also the director's cut. This is a new tab from the version 2, and I'm going to show you that on one of the Dubai 360 projects. By the way, many thanks to Gerald Donovan for letting us using his project. Okay, so as you can see, my 360 video edition is already done. I've corrected the color and leveling the horizon. Okay. By the way, this is a base jumping video from one of the highest towers in Dubai. Really nice content. You can have a look at this one on our booth. Okay, so I'm going to the authoring tab. Remember that you need to finalize the 360 video edition before going to the authoring tab, okay?
Excuse me?
Yeah?
You wanted to show us as well how to correct the stitching of the RMS curve? Do you have some time to do that as well?
Yeah, sure. But we have a new tutorial coming next week, probably on that part. So I prefer to show you that, and you will have a complete video with a good English accent from one of my colleagues, okay? So you have two timelines here, the orientation and the projection. For example, what you can do, I'm going to the beginning, right there, is setting the projection to, let's say, fisheye, okay? I'm going to higher resolution. And you can move it. We don't have the real-time refreshing for the projection change, okay? But the video is there. And you can zoom in with the mouse wheel to crop your video, okay? You can set the ratio of your crop. Apply. Okay. And then you can play with cutting. You have to know that the crop settings are saved in the projection timeline, and your pitch roll are saved in the orientation timeline, okay? So we have to wait the jump. The idea, for example, is to keep the yellow guy in the main frame, okay? Always cutting the two timeline at the same time, just to be sure that I'm not going to make a mistake, okay? Because if you apply something and you are not on a state, you won't be able to save it. Okay. Let's go in the middle of the transition. It's really fast, it only lasts for 2 seconds. Okay. Let me show you the results. And then you can decide to, I'm going to keep the fisheye view up to there, and then I'm going to switch back to Little Planet, for example.
Do you have an option to, or maybe in the roadmap, to adjust clipping the orientation and the projection rate at the same time with one clip?
I have to try it, but an option for the transition, always doing the same transition, no, but that's a good idea.
Yeah, just like a whole, like a
Yeah,
key combination or something.
yeah, this is a good idea. Okay. So this is the transition from the fisheye view to the Little Planet. As soon as possible, we'll make it compatible with the JSON file, okay? To have the same director's cut in AVP, Colorwise, and Colorwise hosting, okay? Then just about the render, you need to keep 16:9 ratio, okay? So that's it for the director's cut.
One question.
Yeah.
If I wanted to, my final output sequence in slow motion, so I would shoot at 60
For me, the idea is to keep the 60 frames per second for the 360 video stitching, export the 60 frames per second, and then you are going into After Effects or Final Cut, and here you are going to go to 20 frames per second or something
So
like that.
I can export to 60 frames in...
Yeah, if you are doing, let me show you that on the 360 part. If you keep the original video frame rate, you can see that I'm going to 80 or 60.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
And if you want to go in post-processing, the frame export is really better. You don't have a frame rate because you keep all the input frames, so 60 per second.
Thank you.
After Effects or Final Cut are way better than our software to interpolate frames. Okay, so it makes sense to lower the frame rate in that kind of software. Okay. So we were talking about the RMS curve, okay, the stitching timeline. I'm going to take a small part of the video. Maybe that part. And if I click on the setting of the stitch timeline, I can compute the RMS curve. So we are calculating the error in the panorama from 8 seconds to 12.
Martin,
Yeah.
just a thought. You know, while we're doing all the editing, we're not using a lot of computational power. So we're just clicking here and dragging there. You know, that doesn't use up a lot of CPU. So I'm just wondering whether there would be an option to do the RMS analysis or something, you know, like a motion compensation at a lower level. You know, like just chewing up 20% in the background while I'm doing other stuff. Because the thing is, you know, like if I have to do the RMS analysis, you know, for a 3-minute or 5-minute sequence, you know, I'm going to sit there for like 2 or 3 hours until that's finished. And, you know, I can't work during that time. So that's why I'm thinking, you know, maybe there's a possibility to just say, oh, put 20% of the CPU power to RMS and I can still work on other stuff.
That's quite complicated because each state is depending on another. So for the motion, for example, it's going to impact your horizon. The stitching also going to impact the horizon and the synchronization also. So the problem is you have to do the steps in the order. The idea we had is to have like a sort of startup for the project. So you are dragging your videos and you just let the computer for the whole night and it's going to compute the motion, it's going to do the RMS, and maybe the color if you want to, okay? This is our idea for now.
Yeah, cool.
So as you can see, I have my RMS curve now. So the lower it is, the better it is, okay? The first part is a bit higher than the other part, okay? This is because my stitching is made for the background, okay? So when they are close to the building, the stitching is not as good as at the end, okay? But what you can do is cut the stitching timeline, meaning that you have a different stitching here than here, okay? And the idea is to adjust the transition to your troubling area, okay? So this is when they are dropping. And then you can just stitch again your videos on the first part. Okay. And you just choose the stitch as GoPro using the selection. So what I'm doing is a new stitching only for this part, for all the state one, okay? Okay, and as you can see, the RMS curve need to be optimized there. So I just compute again the RMS curve, and it's going to be lower than before, okay? So it means that my stitching is better than the previous stitching in this part, okay? So, for example, in the tutorial we are doing, I'm going from the indoor to the outdoor, and in the indoor part, I was going from one room to another, and the space is getting bigger and bigger. And when you are computing the RMS, you can see some different level of RMS. It's really, really visual, okay? And then you can adjust the stitching to each part. And at the end, you have the best video you can have, okay? You don't want your transition to last too long, okay? For example, if you are passing through a door, you really want it to last only for a few minutes long, okay? Okay, about the masking in autopanel video, we always have questions like, how can I use mask to get rid of parallax? And this is not exactly the good way to do it, okay? This is why we want to address the parallax problem with the warping of the videos, like we have shown you yesterday. But the masking can be used, for example, if you have a guy, you have a static shot, you have a guy which is going from one camera to another, you can use a masking, like in the stitching, I can do a small transition, okay, but I'm going to keep it for just one frame. And in the first part, I'm going to add green markers and say I want to keep the guy on this video, and on the next step, I'm going to tell I want to keep the guy, but on the other overlapping video, okay? It's not going to get you rid of the parallax, but it's going to minimize the effect of parallax, okay? But it's quite hard to use the masking on a video, on a moving shot, okay? But lately, what I've done with high parallax cases is different stitching. For example, I have a car video. I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah. And as you can see, the stitching is pretty good. Because what I've done is a first video for the ender, okay? So you just use the control point editor in AutoPano video, in AutoPano, and you just put control point on the inner part of the car. And you enter your project on this model. And at the end, you are going to export this video, and then you are going to keep the same project, same horizon, and just do the stitching for the outside, okay? And you are going to render the outside, and then you can go into After Effects, Final Cut, and use the masking tool to have the background incrusted into the inner, okay? It can work on a lot of cases, like the GoPro video from the announcement. It was made of different panoramas. You can also mix diamond and ISO cutting in the same video, okay? For example, in paragliding, if you are flying, you might want to use ISO for the guy who is flying and keep the diamond for the background, okay? Question? No. Excuse me? This one? And by this way, you can also have a different color correction on the inside and on the outside. It's kind of HDR, tone map video, okay?
Martin,
yeah.
On that point, do you usually shoot in flat color profile? Or?
Yeah. The first thing is you have always to shoot in Pro Tools mode, okay? Just because it gives you a larger bitrate, okay? And about the color, you have two different things. You have the white balance, which has to be the same on each camera, okay? This is really important. And you have the color. It depends if you want to go to post-processing or not. You have the GoPro mode, which is pretty contrasted and saturated, okay? Here, this is the GoPro mode, okay, for the color. But if you have the skills to edit the color in post-processing, it's even better, okay? But the idea is really to have the same setting on all the cameras.
But it doesn't affect the stitching quality if you use a flat color profile or a gold?
No, not at all. You have a sharpness setting in the GoPro. You need to keep it on the medium or high value for the stitching. Okay, this is the only value affecting the stitching. Sharpness.
I have a really sort of stupid question.
Yeah.
So you can do a stupid answer if you want. If you go back to AVP.
Yeah.
So you've got the graph there where you detect the RMS.
Yeah.
And then when you compute the RMS curve, it actually lowers to show that your stitching has improved. I've always had a hard time kind of reading the curves, like on the horizon, when you see the large spike go up and you say, okay, there's a problem area in the horizon.
Yeah.
When you go and adjust it on the editor, it doesn't seem like it really, changes. And when you go and you do the horizon enhancement, what do you call that? When you have it set it to 100%.
The compensation.
Compensation, yeah, compensation. It looks like the graph actually goes higher when you do it. So if you go to the left.
Yeah, no, it's...
And so that confuses me because it almost seems like it would be indicating visually that the spikes are going higher and it's getting worse. So I don't know, just kind of visually always had a difficult time trying to read.
The idea was to you have the motion here. Okay, this is what we are showing. So even if you can see that you still have the motion here, okay, even if I'm not compensating.
Yeah.
And what we want to show is just the level of compensation by making a darker curve, okay?
Yeah.
Just to show the level, but yeah,
Do you know,
the area-based value is quite different.
yeah, it's like the horizon when they go up, it's like you're showing
Yeah.
it in more detail, like you're zooming in. But from the stitch one, when you correct it, it goes down and gets smaller. It seems like they visually indicate different things.
Yeah, okay.
So I've always
Yeah.
found that,
Yeah.
a bit confusing.
Yeah, okay, see that. I'm quite done with the presentation, so if you have any more questions, I know that was the basis of Autopano video, okay? But I know a lot of you guys are in front of 360 videos, so if you have more questions, we'll be on the booth. We have like 7 minutes left.
The my biggest challenge is always stitching closer
Yeah.
stuff, like in the car, for example. Could you go into that just a little bit?
Yeah. I don't have the source of the car, so just I'm going to do it on this video. So this is where you need Autobahn, okay? So you have the control point editor right there. And then you are going to take 2 pictures. As you can see, my points are on the background. And you can select the point, just delete them, okay? Oh, it's not the best part. Yeah. On this part, the idea is only to keep the control point on the building right there, for example. And you can have more control point. So the stitching is really adapted to the closest object. Okay. And in the car, it's easier because you just have to take that part of the car and stitch them together, and you can delete the control point on the outside. Okay. At the end, the idea is really to keep the same project. Okay, because of the horizon change and everything, you just keep the project ready to be rendered for the inside or for the outside, and you are only going to change in Autobahn the control point. Okay, don't change anything else. Okay. Yeah.
With this new version of AVP, I see you can do a lot more adjustments while staying in AVP.
Yeah.
You know, horizon adjustments, and they're indicated with on the timeline. So when you go to hit the edit button and you go into APG and make edits, hit save, are they reflected back on the timeline?
Sure. Yeah. We kept the synchronization between AVP and APG for the mask, for example. But everything is working as in the previous version. Okay. If you want to adjust the horizon in APG, it's possible. Because it's even better because you have the vertical line tools, for example. Okay, so you can be more precise. And you can save, and if I save it, I'm going to impact the change here, okay? And it's still required to use Autobahn for the mask. We don't have the mask editor in Autobahn video. So you need to add your markers like this, and you save it. And it's here in ADB, okay?
Thank you.
I have a question about the motion calculation and the RMS curve.
Yeah.
And as we saw just now, the RMS computing is very time consuming. And I saw that you could open the project file, the Java file in Notepad. So is it possible that I have a workstation, I do the stitching and the colors corrections, and I have another computer that just computing the stitching, and then I copy the stitching parameter to the original project file, and then I merge the two files into one, so it saves a lot of time. Is that possible?
For the color correction, it won't be possible because it's depending on the geometry. So, I don't have much color correction here. It will be possible for the motion, okay? This is the lines related to the stabilization, okay? They are quite long, okay? If the synchronization is not changing, you can compute the motion on another computer and copy them, okay? But for the color correction, it's going to be different because it depends on the stitching also, okay?
And if I copy the motion parameter to the another project file and reapply the color correction, and I saw the color correction is less time consuming and it's calculated very fast. So I copy the motion parameters back, and then I redo the color correction.
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks.
This is the idea.
Is there any other question?
Do you have a video for the control point editor as well? How to use it?
Excuse me.
Do you have a video showing how to use the control point editor?
Yeah, I can show you that on the booth.
Okay, thanks.
Hello. Just a question about the masking. When I use the masking, generally, if I have two different panels with different masking, the transition when I use them is just on one frame. Is there a way to expand the transition to have a fluent changing from the one panel masking to the other one?
I think what you mean is that when you are masking in one camera and going to another,
yeah,
you have a straight cut.
Yeah, this is it.
This is just geometric because the masking is the mask are related to only one camera. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you are moving your mask, you are not going to jump from one camera to another. You are going to be on the same camera you set at the beginning.
Yeah.
So the idea is to delete the mask of your first camera and use them on the second camera. But you won't have like a smooth transition. It's not possible because it's not temporal, it's just that you are going from one camera to another.
Okay, so
we cannot interpolate that kind of stuff. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
It's better to do it in post-production.
That's what I thought it would. If you want to do that,
yeah,
I'll put the whole thing and go into whatever software in post-production.
Yeah, I can show you just a quick thing, when you are in Autopano video, in Autopano, you can just disable and keep only one camera, okay? If I save that, I can only output one of the camera, okay? And you can do that for the 6 cameras, and then you can go into another software if you want to, for the blending, for the masking. It's like exporting the layers in Photoshop for post-production, okay?
I have a question about authoring. If you do authoring, do you make the changes within the image, or is it just...
No.
It's just a player instruction?
Just some virtual change, just projection, your pictorial values, and you are not impacting the 360 video at all, okay?
And the next question is, I do more virtual rendering stuff.
Yeah.
Can I load an equirectangular image sequence and do only the authoring? Because that I wouldn't need the stitching because it's already done.
That will be possible, but it's going to be clever to do it in color-wise. We are going to have, one day you are going to have a director's cut editor, okay? But you don't want to re-encode your video, because here we are exporting only the authored video, okay? The idea in color-wise is just to have the JSON file and say I want to go from Little Planet to another projection. But these are just information for the player, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
One more question about the stereo pipeline.
Yeah.
What's the best practice to fix, in this version, to fix the parallax issues on different eyes? So for example, on one eye, I have the parallax issues, so ghosting, and on another eye, it's okay. What should I do? What's the best practice there? Because I tried masking and etc., so it's always manual and trying to do something.
The first thing to do is to stitch all the pictures together, okay? And focus on one plan. You have to focus on the background, on the foreground, but you have to focus on something, okay? And by this way, you are stitching the left and the right on the same template, okay? And then, if, for example, you have a really close object, the only thing to do is masking. This is really what you can do.
And it will help to export, for example, like a multipass to different cameras on different layers, like having lots of sequences and then trying to fix it in After Effects.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you can do different stitching. Different plan exactly, and then you can have a smooth transition.
That's the only way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no. Yeah.
And trying to add in After Effects first on the master video before uploading into Autopano. Is it a good idea to try to create subframes to virtually have a high frame rate, or maybe have smudge frames for the stitching, or it won't work?
No, we did try that, but when you are doing that, you have a lot of artifacts in the generated frames. And for example, the straight lines, it's really hard to have an interpolation from one frame to another. So you are going to create subframes that are quite different from the original video. So it's not the solution, but the hardware synchronization will be the solution for sure. That's that.
Okay, and if I try to use, for example, the stabilization before I upload the video to Kolor, is it a good idea, or as you said, it should be kept for the lens correction, etc., etc.
The stabilization in pre-production?
Yeah.
no, it won't work because when you are stabilizing a video, you need to crop the video, okay, to keep the constant part of the video, okay, and it means that you are going to affect the rig. The rig is going. The cameras are going to move between the other. Okay, you see. So you cannot have a stitching, which is guessing that your camera are not moving from one to another. Okay, so that's not possible.
So thank you, Martin. We're going to have another Martinet in a few minutes. So thank you, Martin Arnoux from Kolor. I invite you to go to their booth if you have any question. So Martinets should be around. Martin, do you? Okay, thank you.